year, everyone, and welcome to SUNUP. I'm Lyndall Stout. We begin today with an update on Oklahoma's canola crop. Here's our Extension Cropping System Specialist, Josh Lofton.
Well, canola in Oklahoma right now is I think the word for it is we're cautiously optimistic. When you look around the state with the canola acres that we actually have out in the state right now, we're in a lot better shape than we were last year. The plants are smaller, they're more compact, they're closer to the ground, they're a lot less further along, which is a good thing. And we're in a situation to where we do believe that they've had that period of winterizing before we went into these really cold conditions. The one concern we're at right now is it's dry. And so it being dry right now is not a concern, but we're going to need, before we get into those 60s, 70s, and 80-degree days that we know are coming, we're going to need at least a rain shower or two. You got smaller canola here that's only about 4 to 6 leaf canola. You might see a bulk majority of your leaves have some damage to it, but once again, we've gone down through here and we've looked at some of these canola and split them apart, and that growth point's still active. It's still growing. It's still in good shape. So as far as this is concerned, they can go out and look at that growth point. The bigger thing that we're worried about right now is it's been termed the crud, but it's that stalk split. Because we did go through a pretty rapid cooling this last time. When we go through a warming and rapid cooling, sometimes the stalk can split on us. That plant is still alive and it still can be a very successful plant. We just have bigger issues with potential disease such as blackleg, maybe some insect infestations, and lodging on down the line. However, the plant's still alive and we're still looking in pretty good shape around the state. As long as we get a rain or two before we start actively growing again, we'll be in really good shape going into reproductive growth. Dr. Bill Ron, Dr. Brian Arnall, and all the fertility folks have had the wheat magruder plots. What they did this last year is added a canola aspect to it. Going to be within a crop rotation, so we're going to see those same things we're getting from the wheat and the magruders into something in the canola. So looking at inputs, how those inputs actually impact the canola growth, early season, winter survival, and on down the line when we get into yield. We see some decent looking canola here where we put some inputs in, where the check where we didn't have any or P and K with it, it's dead. It's already been winter killed. So we're going to get a lot of good information about fall input management on canola in this year and the future years here at the Magruder plots. We have a grain sorghum producers meeting in cooperation with the Oklahoma Sorghum Growers Commission. That's going to be the 12th in Enid, but it's going to be everything on everything they need to know about sorghum. Canola College is going to be the 19th of January. Once again, it's going to be in Enid, same place we've had it the last couple years. The other thing is the 6th and 7th of February, we're going to have the No-Till Conference. Last year we moved it to Shawnee, and we're going to keep it in Shawnee. Early registration is still open. You can still get the cheap early registration for $125 through the 19th of January. Dr. Chad Gotze is going to be back in the state, going to give a nice keynote address, as well as some of the innovators of no-till in Oklahoma, getting a nice producers panel and seeing where they are in their no-till system.
Brian Arnall, our Extension Nutrient Management Specialist, joins us now. And Brian, it is dry and it is cold and it's definitely showing in the fields.
Yeah, right now we haven't had a lot of regions of the state have not had a lot of rain, and in upwards of 90 days in some regions, most wheat production area, and also the canola ground. So we're looking at, in a lot of areas, small wheat. We're looking at low soil moisture. Our long-range forecast is showing some moisture, but not much probability. And it's exceptionally cold. So right now we have a crop that's not doing much. It's just sitting there. And a lot of people are asking, what do we do about nitrogen? Well, my first response is, let's go ahead. If you don't have it out in enriched strip, it's not too late. Effectively, since it hasn't rained in 90 days, there's no difference of applying it 90 days ago and today. So go ahead and get those enriched strips out. That's 40 or 50 pounds of nitrogen above what's ever out in the field in a strip 10 foot wide by 100 foot long, or whatever you can walk. And this will really give us a great indication of what the crop will need when it comes out of dormancy and when it starts growing again. Now there's also the when do we apply and what do we apply if I don't have an inroot strip, or even if I do, because right now we aren't growing. I don't recommend applying anytime in the near future until we get a good chance of rain. The wheat's not growing, it's in dormancy right now, and just applying nitrogen now, if we get warm without rain, could add losses. Now, if you're really worried and you have a lot of acres to cover, you can go ahead and put out your nitrogen now. But the best case scenario is waiting for a rain to come, letting the crops start getting up and moving, and then put on nitrogen so you can take stock of where the wheat's at.
So that would be the most efficient approach.
That'd be the most efficient approach.
Even if you're waiting until after first hollow stem to do that?
I'd prefer us to get the nitrogen down before first hollow stem in a normal year, but if we haven't had rain and we don't really warm up, we haven't had a lot of growth. We've showed at OSU that you can apply nitrogen after first hollow stem and it'd be effectively taken up if it's shortly after first hollow stem. So that is still a good option to be the most efficient with that input.
Does it matter what source of nitrogen that we use for top dress this year?
You know, in the current scenario that we're looking at, I have a little bit of a preference over UAN as streamer nozzles, especially in the conditions where we have cultivated fields and we have small wheat, that UAN will get into the soil right now. A little bit better than urea if it doesn't rain. If you can get it on in front of a good rain event, source doesn't really matter at all. If you're going into no-till and you have a lot of crop residue, the preference would be to avoid broadcasting with a herbicide and going into streamers or using urea in that condition.
Let's talk about your new app. Tell us a little bit about that and what producers and users can expect.
So we've recently released a new app in iOS and we're working on the Android version. That name is Green Seeker N-Rate Calculator, and it's effectively the online sensor-based nitrogen rate calculator where we use the Green Seeker and N-Rate strip to make nitrogen rates. Now this app will have the wheat algorithm for both Oklahoma and the wheat algorithm for Kansas. It's already live. We'll be releasing the sorghum and corn algorithms in the very near future, along with the other algorithms as we build it up. And so this will be a one-stop shop on the app for all of the sensor-based nitrogen rate calculators, and we'll be building it through the time. But we've recently released iOS for the wheat algorithms.
So people can just go to the App Store and download it and take a look.
Go to iTunes or go to the DASNR website, which will have it up, which is, you can find it at the sunup.okstate.edu.
Okay, Brian, thanks a lot. And for a link to the new OSU app, just go to sunup.okstate.edu.
The very cold temperatures that we experienced this last week are a reminder that we'll probably have some more Arctic blasts come through this winter during the upcoming calving season. Realize calving for a lot of us may not start for about another 3 to 4 weeks, but now's the time to get ready to help those newborns that might be arriving in the middle of the night on one of those very, very cold winter evenings. There's research that comes out of Canada that gives us some indications of the best ways to rewarm extremely hypothermic or extremely cold stressed baby calves. What the Canadians looked at was basically 3 different methods of rewarming these baby calves that had been cold stressed to a very, very great degree. They looked at putting the baby calf in kind of a traditional rewarming setting where we might put them into a room temperature environment, 68, 77 degrees, with a heat lamp over top of them after the calves have been dried off. They also looked at taking a group of these calves that had been cold stressed and wrapping them in thermal blankets. The third method that they used was to put those cold stressed calves into a warm water bath. And by warm water, I mean about 100 degrees. By submerging their body in this warm water bath, what the researchers found was that they were able to get those calves back to normal body temperature much quicker than the calves that were rewarmed in those more traditional kinds of situations. They actually got the calves to change their body temperature from a very, very low of 86 degrees up to normal at 103. They did that in 1 hour's time as compared to the other more traditional kinds of rewarming methods taking an hour and a half. This is important because the faster we can get those calves rewarmed and viable and vigorous, ready to get up, take them back out to have a chance to nurse their mothers and get that colostrum early is extremely important to the future health of those calves. But getting these calves rewarmed as quickly as possible, I think, is important to getting them vigorous and a chance to get the colostrum that's so important to their disease protection that'll give us a chance to save just a few more of those very, very valuable baby calves that we have come this spring. And the price that they bring next fall, I think, will reward us for that little extra effort of finding the big tub that we can put these calves in that warm water and get them rewarmed as quickly as possible. We hope this helps you if you save just a few more calves this calving season. And we certainly look forward to visiting with you next week on SUNUP's Cow-Calf Corner.
In the livestock industry, there's been some talk about a shortage in one of the vitamins. And Dave, let's talk about what you've heard.
I've heard that the supply of vitamin A in particular is very limited, and feed prices are going up partially because of that. The feed industry is telling us that we might anticipate vitamin A supply to be short through at least the first quarter of this coming year.
Why is vitamin A so important in the livestock industry?
It is important because it has a lot to do with different functions in the body, energy metabolism. Probably the first thing most people think about is vision, bone health and maintenance, growth of cattle. And so it's an important vitamin.
Where else could we find a substitute for that?
Well, hay does have some vitamin A, and you know, just like most nutrients, it's diluted as the plant matures. So the earlier it's harvested, the greener, leafier forages are going to have a higher concentration of vitamin A.
So we know it's important, but where can we find that in the wintertime?
Harvested forage, and the earlier harvested, the more leafy the material, the higher the concentration. Grass hay, for example, you know, in a recent publication, I found looked like 1,000 to 1,400 international units per pound of feed or forage dry matter. A gestating cow's requirement is exactly that. It's about 1,300 pounds, or excuse me, 1,300 international units per pound of forage dry matter. So they would match up pretty good. Now, if it's been stored, grass hay's been stored for a long period of time, it's going to decline. The vitamin A, active vitamin A concentration kind of degrades over time. So if it's been stored for a year, I'd assume it only has about half of that amount. The obvious thing is that, you know, we need to get through supplementing to the animal's needs through the winter here, and then once it greens up, green fresh forage, pasture forage contains somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20,000 international units per pound of dry matter. A cow needs 1,200 to 2,000, so far exceeds their requirements.
So if a producer in January doesn't have wheat pasture to work with that, how do they get the vitamin A that they need for their livestock?
Well, the feed industry has provided that service to the livestock industry for as long as there's been a feed industry. And so they incorporate vitamins and trace minerals into supplement products, whether that's a protein supplement, an energy supplement, such as a 20% cube, 38% cube, a tub, liquid feed, or whether it's in a free choice mineral product. So, maybe that's an important point. If it gets really expensive in the next couple of months and feed prices continue to increase, make sure you're not doubling up on vitamin A.
yeah.
So if a gestating cow needs 1,300 international units per pound of feed dry matter, yeah, that's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 30,000 total international units per day. And so if you're getting 30,000 international units from your free choice mineral,
Right.
you probably don't need 30,000 international units also from your, let's say, your range cubes, for example.
This vitamin A that we have right here.
This is a concentrated vitamin A product. This is the product that the feed industry would be working with. This particular product you see here actually has 30,000 international units, which is a cow's requirement.
Right.
Which you can go home and teach your kids about that tonight. Now that you, but this has 30,000 international units per gram.
Oh, wow.
And remember, there's 454 grams in every pound.
Yeah.
So it's extremely concentrated.
And that's a lot of nutritional information to remember. Do you have online resources?
We do. I mean, we have a vitamin and mineral fact sheet or bulletin on this. So there's a chapter in the Oklahoma Beef Cattle Manual. So those are available for the public both through the internet as well as in hard copy.
Okay, thank you much, Dave Lalman.
Thank you.
And for more information on this, go to our website, sunup.okstate.edu.
"2018 arrived with single-digit air temperature minimums for most of the state. On New Year's Day, Eva in the Panhandle was -7 degrees. Idabel was the warmest exception, 15 degrees. But the real weather news as we start 2018 is the lack of rainfall. The count of days since a quarter-inch of rain fell shows the western portion of the state with lots of locations at 88 or more days without a quarter-inch of rain. Rainfall totals over the 60 days prior to Wednesday shows the lack of rainfall in the western portions of the state. Blue areas had less than an inch of rain over 60 days. Good amounts of rain did fall in the southeast. Gary will talk more about that in a couple of minutes. The rainfall as a percent of normal for the 60 days back to November 4th had the Panhandle and western Oklahoma with less than 20% of their normal rainfall, the red areas. The trouble for Oklahoma farmers is these are the winter wheat and canola production areas in the state. The lack of rainfall has led to 9 counties with active burn bans. Hey Gary, is there any hope of rain on the horizon?
Well, as Al showed you the long-term rainfall deficits, I'm going to go back to 30 days and show you why we actually had some improvements in the state, but also we had some intensification of drought. So let's take a look at the latest drought monitor map and see what we got. So the brown area on the map, the darker brown, that's the severe drought, and the lighter brown is moderate drought. And of course, as usual, yellow is abnormally dry, which is not a drought designation. Let me take you back to the percentage of normal rainfall for the last 30 days. We see the reasons why we had improvements in the southeast, but also intensification in the northwestern half of the state. As you can see, the northwestern half, percent of normal rainfall we'd expect this time of year. In some places it's 0, and in most cases it's less than 25% in the northwestern half of the state, and that also extends down into parts of southeastern Oklahoma and east central Oklahoma. We do see that area, however, down in far southeastern Oklahoma that got some generous moisture, that 3 to 6 inches over the last few weeks, that helped the drought impacts in that area. They're still in drought, but at least they did have some improvements. Prospects for the future. This is the January precipitation outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. we do see increased odds of above normal precipitation across the northeastern quarter of the state. Unfortunately, we don't see any type of signal like that for the rest of the state, so we have equal chances of above, below, or near normal precipitation for those areas. Basically, your guess is as good as theirs. However, since we don't see that increased odds of above normal precipitation across the rest of the state, the monthly drought outlook for January from the Climate Prediction Center shows the drought where it exists to either persist or intensify across the western, let's say, 4/5 of the state. We do see some possible improvements across far east central down through southeastern Oklahoma, where some of that additional moisture might fall, at least according to their January precipitation outlook. Unfortunately, we are in the driest time of the year, so don't expect too many drought improvements. Hopefully we can stay cool so the drought intensification won't ramp up quite as quickly as it did during November and December. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time on the Mesonet Weather Report.
A new year brings a new starting point for the price of wheat. And Kim, are we on the floor?
I think we're on the floor, and I think we could see higher prices. You know, we picked up 25 cents over the last month, just a little tick at a time coming up. But we do have to remember there is a basement under this floor, so we could see lower prices. But the things that give me some optimism is you look at the value of the dollar on the dollar index. It's declined 11%. That means our wheat could be 11% more competitive on the market. But you know, if you look Russia, our major competitor, the rubles only increased 7% because they're not part of that index. So we do have picked up some on the ruble, but not a lot. You look at managed funds on the soft wheat market, the Chicago market, 146,000 contracts short. Look at the hard red winter wheat contracts, 35,000 short. That means they're short about 9 million bushels of wheat. For every penny the market goes up, they're losing $9 million. So what you've got there is you know, they're going to have to get out of these short positions at some point in time. When they do, they've got to buy, and that could cause a price increase.
Now, coming up on Friday, there's going to be a big report come out that we haven't seen, you know, since it is the beginning of the year.
Right, we got 3 reports coming out on Friday the 12th. The WASDE report, World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimate. We got the quarterly stocks report, and then we got the winter wheat seedings. I don't think there's going to be any surprises in any of them, the WASDE, the stocks reports. If there's a surprise, it could be in the plantings or what they call the seedings report. Mm-hmm. Right now, I think the market's expecting about a 5% decline in hard red winter wheat plantings and slightly lower soft red winter wheat plantings.
Now, in that report, do you see protein playing a factor in that?
No, protein's not going to come into the market until harvest. And you know, how's the market going to price protein if we get it? Because if they raise the futures price, then we're going to deliver this low protein wheat against it because protein's not part of the delivery contract. Right. So I think if we have protein come harvest, and right now there's a $2 basis for 12% pro. If you look at ordinary pro, you got a 35-cent basis. So you got a $1.55 protein spread there. They're going to have to, if they want protein, they're going to have to increase the basis and buy it on the cash market. They can't put it on the board. So I think if we see a price increase because of protein, it's not going to be till harvest, see what we have, and then it's going to be in the basis.
There's been some news coming from Russia and the Ukraine about new grain handling facilities. What does that really mean for the world wheat market, but also Oklahoma?
Well, we're seeing them export record amount of wheat right now. If you look at Russia, they're just completing a 4 million bushel expansion on their port. It raises that port facility to storage and handling of 11 million bushels. You look at Ukraine, they put $1.44 billion of investment in agriculture this year. They put in $900 million last year. So I mean, their handling facilities, their shipping facilities in the former Soviet Union countries and Eastern Europe to a certain degree, they're increasing their investment in that. They're building that up so they can compete.
And speaking of world trade, Japan's been in the news with some new negotiations too.
Well, they've been negotiating with the European Union and other wheat-producing countries about lowering the import tax for that product. The news is that it's going to make them more competitive with the U.S., and it will. It's going to make those countries more competitive with the U.S. wheat. If we were in the agreement, would we gain anything? No, because we've already got that advantage.
Right.
So they're just giving those countries an advantage that the U.S. already has.
What does that mean for U.S. wheat? Do we have to produce a better product?
Oh, well, that means they're going to buy, Japan's going to be an economic buyer, they're going to buy quality, and they're going to buy price. We have a shipping advantage on most of those countries, not Australia, but you know, they already moved the product in there right now. It's going to be quality and price.
Okay, there you have it. Kim Anderson, Grain Marketing Specialist here at Oklahoma State University.
You know, we're only about, 15 miles from the Red River right here at Altus. And we share a lot of the same issues, production issues and economic issues on both sides of the river. So one of the things we decided to do was to create a crop conference that was tailored specifically for what we would call the Red River Basin here. We do rotate this between Altus and Childress. This is the year where we will be in Altus, and we will have it once again at the Southwest Technology Center. We have a 2-day program, and we've done this from the very beginning. Day 1 this year is going to be the Cotton Day, and Day 2 will be what we call the In-Season and Summer Crops Day. We feel like we've got an overall very good program as we've had in the past, and we really look forward to seeing a lot of our producers there.
That'll do it for us this week. Remember, you can find us anytime at sunup.okstate.edu and also follow us on YouTube and social media. I'm Lyndall Stout. Have a great week, everyone, and remember, Oklahoma agriculture starts at sunup.